Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host, Dr. Coker, with the program Bible Explains It All. Thank you very much for joining us on this Saturday morning, closing to the afternoon. And thank you very much for sending your remarks, your comments on our program. And thank you very much for the patronage of this program. Today we are discussing the topic that who created God. This is the topic that a lot of atheists, agnostics, and even sometimes believers, they stumble on this topic that who created God. We will just, if you stay with us in this program, you will learn what is the difference between the conscience and the consciousness, number one. Number two, you will learn where does your consciousness reside. Number three, you will learn what is the difference between your brain and your mind. And number four, who created God. Again, thank you very much for joining us. Now, there's a leading research on the topic of the brain and the mind. That where is your brain and where is your mind? Most of the time, people, they just mix that brain and mind is the same thing, which is a colossal mistake according to the new scientific research. And new scientific research is just really honing on this topic that your mind is not your brain. The Bible get it very, very clearly thousands of years ago that the mind, brain, and your personal, which is you as a matter, is completely different. So if I have to distinguish in a man, so I would just say that a man is a physical and a non-physical thing. Mind is your non-physical thing, and your brain is a physical thing. So you do not put them together and say that you are one. If you put your non-physical mind and the physical brain together, that is you. Now the Bible, if you look at in the Bible, is saying, for this is our confidence. The testimony of our conscience is that we have conducted ourselves in the world, and especially towards you, with God-given sincerity and purity. And very important to note, not by fleshly wisdom, but by God's grace. What is this talking about? If you really look in this, we talk about this conscience, conscience is your moral compass, and it is talking about your fleshly wisdom, and that fleshly wisdom. So very important to note, and just this is a nuance, when Bible talks about your conscience and when Bible talk about your fleshly wisdom. Your conscience is, again, it's a non-physical, non-matter thing, which everybody, God has created. So what is the difference between a conscience and the consciousness? I said, your consciousness is your moral compass, which is set in you to tell you the difference between a good and a bad. Your consciousness is that you exist. You are who you are. And we're just going to explore the consciousness through the scientific arena. And I'm just going to tell you more about your consciousness. Now, did Bible talk about your consciousness, conscience, and your brain? It does. I'm just going to take you to this verse is saying, let us draw near with a true heart in full assurance of faith, having our hearts sprinkled from an evil conscience and our bodies washed with pure water. Now, if you see, there are like three things are just being used in this verse. Number one, your true heart. What is your heart? When the Bible talks about the heart, Bible is talking about your mind, which is non-physical. When Bible talking about heart sprinkled with an evil conscience, conscience is your moral compass, just like I said, which tells you from right from wrong. And your bodies, which are your physical bodies, and that is washed with the pure water. So Bible gets it right from the consciousness, and your flesh. All these three things, they're completely different, and you cannot mix them all three together. Now, if you go further, a lot of people, they say, if nobody has heard about God, so how God would judge them. A lot of people, because Christians, they believe, and I do believe that if you do not know Jesus, you cannot be saved. And a lot of people, they say, what if people, they have not even heard about Jesus? Then what's going to happen? The Bible is very explicit about that too. You see, and this is the program, Bible Explains It All by Dr. Kokar, is saying that they show the work of the law, as Romans 2:15, that they show the work of the law written in their conscience, bearing witness, and their thoughts alternative accusing or else defending them. So what it's saying is very important, and we're just going to make a point right on the top of this, that who created God. Okay, so the law is written on your conscience. So if you know, sometime you do not have to go through the Bible or whichever religion you believe in, you have to go through the law. The law is first time given to Moses by God, and the Moses is the one who is who introduced law to Israelites. But before that, God is saying, I have written law on your conscience, and that conscience is your mind. And most of the time, even if you're doing right or wrong thing, so you know this, you don't have to go to your Bible or whichever thing you believe in to tell. Your conscience is telling you this is right from wrong. And that's what God is saying. God is saying at the end, if you do not believe Christ, you do not believe law, you do not believe anything, then your mind, which is conscience, and your conscience is sitting in the consciousness, that will be bearing witness against you. And this is so powerful. Now, let's go, and we're just going to talk about the leading scientists, what they talk about the conscious and the consciousness. Before that, with the leading scientists, when we talk about the evolution, and a lot of our friends, so they believe, the evolutionists, they believe that somehow man evolved and evolved from a monkey to a man or the fish or whatever, so this is a theory of Darwin, and Darwin said the idea that species change over time, right? So this is the idea of Darwin, and I'm just going to talk about that too. And I'm just going to show you the theory of Darwin, and what Darwin is talking about, that you are somehow a monkey, and from the monkey you evolved into a man. Now, this is the idea that species change over time and give rise to new species and share a common ancestor. And that is most of the time when you talk with your evolutionist friend, and I'm a creationist, so you talk with your evolutionist friend, so that's exactly what they're going to talk about. They will just say, oh, we were evolved. No, very important thing to note is this. So if you are evolved, so Darwin is talking about your physical evolution. Darwin is not very sure about your non-physical evolution, and that your non-physical evolution is Darwin is very mum, or he is very vague about that. If you read his books and if you read the theory of Darwin on evolution, he's very vague about that. And he knew but because that evolution is only retaining or pertaining to the physical part of it, has nothing to do with the non-physical part of it, and your conscious and your consciousness is your non-physical. Now I'm just going to read this leading scientists who have conducted a lot of research on the topic of the mind and the brain. So this is the author Tom Kando. He is the Department of Sociology, California State University. Okay, and I'm just reading his excerpt from his book. He's saying, describing research done at George Mason University, and he is citing this another author who is from the George Mason University Cancer Institute, devoted to the study of the mind, and the mind is non-physical thing, and that's what he's saying. And then he adds that the human brain is a hunk of meat that contains about 30 billion cells. Human brain is 30 billion cells, and 30 billion cells, these are called neurons. The code that human brains can do things that no computer can match is followed by a quote from Steven Pinker's book, How the Mind Works. Elsewhere in the article, the author writes that the human brain has a premium feature. Listen to carefully. Human brain has a premium feature, consciousness or self-awareness, and that there is an I somewhere in our skull. So your awareness, your consciousness is what? Your consciousness is this, that you know that you exist, that somewhere in your mind you exist. If I ask you, what is your name? You say, I am so and so. Who is this I? That's what the scientists, they are saying. That is your awareness and that is your consciousness. And that has nothing to do with the physical reality or the matter that you are existing in a bodily form or fleshly form. Has anything to do with this. How do you know that you are the being of the awareness and the consciousness, and that consciousness is your I am, that you exist and you are not something else, but you are somehow not flesh, but the awareness. Now, if you see God, when God is talking about in Exodus, and I'm just going to see this, when I say I am, so look at this, the way the Bible is describing. God said, Exodus 3:14, God said to Moses, I am who I am. This is what you are to say to the Israelites. I am has sent me to you. Now, very important things to note. Now, the scientists, the leading scientists on the study of the mind and the brain, they are saying that your awareness is your I am, that you are existing. And God, when Moses asked God in Exodus chapter 3, he said, what should I tell, that who am I? So God said, go and tell that I am who I am. You see where I'm trying to connect the dots here? I'm trying to connect the dots here, that God is a non-physical, non-matter thing, and that you are, in reality, you are a non-physical thing. Your awareness, and that your awareness is everything, that you exist. And this body is going to decay and shell one day. But your awareness is the one that keeps going on. Now, if you see, when God created a man, what exactly God is saying, that how he created a man. If you see Genesis chapter 1:26, and God said, let us make a man in our image and our likeness. Very important. Just note this nuance. It's saying, like our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish and the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. And God is saying at that point that God made man in his own image. And God is who? Who is God? God said, I am. He's constant. He's not created thing. He said, I am constant. And then your awareness is constant too. And your awareness can be one day, which is I, which can be thrown into, and that's another topic. Your awareness, you can witness the second death of it. But right now, your awareness, which is I am, is connected with God. And through that awareness, you can be anywhere in your imagination. You see what I'm trying to portray this? So your brain cannot go anywhere. But in your imagination, if I want to go somewhere in Australia and be there for how long I want to, in my imagination, I can be. And that is, I can do that through my imagination. And my imagination is sitting in my awareness, and my awareness is my consciousness. You see where I'm taking all this to? And then God said that I have made man, I have created man in my own image, and that image is I am. Now, the thing is this, the physical things can, very important thing to note, what I'm just trying to make a point. Physical things can evolve, but the non-physical, which is your awareness, cannot evolve. Your good conscience is the image of God, because the Bible is explicit on this too. Very important to note. Because yes, I talk about your conscience, and the conscience is your compass on the right and wrong, but there is a good conscience and then there is a bad conscience. So that's why you have to choose between these two. And then your good conscience is the image of God, and your bad conscience is what happened is colluded or corrupted by Satan. And that became your bad conscience, and that's why you are disconnected. So when you are disconnected from God, you are on the bad conscience. But when you are connected with God, then that you are on the good conscience, and that you are in the image of God. If you just go and help someone and say God, so that is you are becoming the messenger of God, and then you are in the image of God. You're going and helping someone, and you become God for them. Don't take me wrong in a sense that I'm saying that you are God. And I'm not saying either that in the mystic way that somehow the God is within you. I'm not saying this, because I am exactly opposite to that ideology of the mysticism, because I am really trying to make a point here that if you have a conscience, and your conscience is going from good to the bad, and is just like controlling you to make a certain decisions on the basis of your conscience from the good and bad, so at that point I'm just saying on your good conscience is from God, and the bad conscience is corrupted by Satan. So that's exactly what I am talking about. And I'm just showing you the bad conscience is in the Bible also. It's not. So if you see Titus 1:15, it's talk about this. To the pure, all things are pure, but those who are defiled and unbelieving, nothing is pure, but both their mind. So what is your mind? Your consciousness. And their conscience. So consciousness, your conscience is sitting in the consciousness, are defiled. You see where I'm taking this to? I'm taking it this, that your conscience, which could be the good conscience and the bad conscience, and it could be defiled. It could be defiled by the Satan. And I'm just saying that can be taken you to the wrong path. And if you're good conscious, your good conscience can take you to the right path. And that is the image of God. So now the thing is this, the question still remains, and I have just touched base upon but who created God? If you see Jesus, there are 7 times Jesus said, I am, in the Bible. Jesus said 7 times, I am. And when he said, I am, he said, I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me will live even if he dies. This is what Jesus is saying. And like I said, Jesus 7 times he said, I am. I am the bread, I am the life, I am the light. And then he said, I am the resurrection. Even if you die, you will live. What does that mean? It means that your body, even if your body would die, your consciousness will still be living. Your consciousness will be resurrected in the Lord if you stay within the resurrected Lord, and which is Christ. If you believe in Christ, if you believe in the resurrection, then your resurrection will be Christ. And in one day, in Jesus, not only we believe that your consciousness just survive your death, but your body, Jesus is saying your body will be living too. So who created God then? This question still remains. And that's exactly what we started from. Who created God? So if I say that your non-physical aspect, or my non-physical aspect, which is my mind, which is my consciousness, and my consciousness is connected with God, and that connection with God is my awareness that God exists. You see what I'm saying? And that awareness that God exists is in itself God. Nobody created. And sometimes, we are just created thing, we are created being, and we just want everything to be created because we are in this limited time space. But God is not in limitation, and so does your conscience, and so does your mind. Exactly, I gave the example. It is not in the limiting space. Your conscience can be anywhere you want to be. With your mind, you can be anywhere right now you want to be. And your mind is going on this unlimited, vast experience. And you can go and you can be just like right now on the mountains, and you can be right now in the skies wherever you want to be, through your consciousness, through your awareness, through your eye, which according to the scientists. So God is, nobody has created God. So just being a created thing, so you're always just like thinking about the creation, because God created your consciousness, which is non-physical and which is not, cannot be evolved. And God has created your body also, and your body one day will experience the death, or another way, if I have to say this, experience a resurrection. Okay, and that's what the whole thing is, so we will just talk more on this topic, and we will just carry on. And I hope and I pray, and I just pray for everyone who is listening to this program, so may this program be the source of blessings. And if you have any questions on this topic which I could not cover, so please feel free. I'll be more than happy to answer all your questions, all your philosophical questions. I'll be more than happy to answer those also. And God bless you. And just go out there and make a difference and live the good part of your conscience. God bless you all. And thank you very much for joining us and making this program your favorite program, Bible Explains It All by Dr. Coker. Thank you. God bless you all.